The will of God is a question we all have. What's the will? How do I know the will of God? The word will is a simple word to define. It just means desire. We have our desires and God has his desires. And the question is, how do we line up our desire with heaven's desire? And for Jesus, he had to go to a place called Gethsemane, which is a place where they pressed the olives, they crushed the olives, and as a result, oil began to flow. And so Gethsemane is known as the crushing place. Every single one of us, just like Jesus, will have to go through the crushing places of life. They are inescapable. No one can beat them. There's no way around them. Everybody goes through the crushing places. Maybe it's a loss of a loved one. Maybe it's rejection or abandonment or betrayal or loneliness or heartbreak. Verse 42 of the story there, where we see Gethsemane, Jesus is actually saying, take this cup from me. What's he saying? He's saying, I have a preview of the agony that's about to come, and he's asking God, is there another way? Is God sure that this is his desire? Is this really heaven's desire? Jesus is looking at the agony of rejection. He's looking at the agony that's going to come with the betrayal. He's looking at the agony by being deserted by those who are closest to him, the agony of his own family that's embarrassed by who he is, the agony of, for the first time in all of eternity, the Son is separated from the Father, that no one is going to be there with him when he begins to take his journey to being arrested and being tried, found innocent, but yet they sentenced him to death by execution on a cross. He's so drained and he's so exhausted that the Bible says that God sends an angel there in the garden to strengthen him. And you would think that this angel would strengthen him and take away all of his problems and remove all the bad stuff, remove all the painful stuff. But the Bible says after the angel strengthened him, he was sorrowful almost unto death. So it's not just a place where he's crushed, it's a place where he's so full of sorrow. It even uses the word, he's deeply distressed. And the word distressed is the strongest word for depression in the Greek. In the Greek, the prefix of that word distress actually means away from home. So Jesus, in the strongest sense, is sorrowful. He's depressed even unto death. A depressed Jesus, that's not something you hear very much about. I mean, the one who came to help others, the one that came to serve others, the one that came and he prayed and the blind eyes were open, the one that prayed and the deaf ears were open. He prayed and the lame walked. He prayed and demons had to flee. He prayed and the dead were raised to life. Now he's struggling with mental illness and anguish. Jesus suffered in that way. Jesus understands depression. We would know that he has the whole weight of the world on him, not just figuratively. He has the actual weight of all the sins of the world on his shoulders, the sin past, present, and future. It's billions of people, all the sins of Chicago and New York and LA and San Francisco and Dubai and Sydney, the sins of Haiti, the sins of India, the sins of Afghanistan, the sins of Cincinnati, all of those weighing on him. And some people find it difficult to think about Jesus in this way, but I find it refreshing that he stands today with all of us who are in a traumatic place. For those of you that have lost a loved one, and in your mind, it's almost unbearable. You've gone through a broken relationship that you did everything you could do to salvage, but now you're heartbroken because it fell apart and you're sorrowful. You even get what Jesus was saying, that it was even unto death. He's in such pain that he thinks he might die. Surrounded by prayer, surrounded by angels, in the beautiful Garden of Gethsemane, on the Mount of Olives, overlooking the city of Jerusalem, but yet his sweat doesn't decrease, his sweat doesn't go away. His sweat increases until it becomes great drops of blood. He then tries to go get some strength from his disciples, and they have fallen asleep because they're exhausted from sorrow. Have you ever been like that? Have you ever been to the place where you can't even pull yourself out of bed because you're so sorrowful? Jesus shows up and they're broken, they're exhausted, they're tired. And he says, why are you sleeping? Because the one thing that he asked that they do was pray so they enter not into temptation. And so he says, why are you sleeping? In other words, hey, I expected more of you than this. And they're aware that they've made a mistake. And you would think that Jesus is there just to, ream them out, get onto them, get onto their case, tell them, here he is in the most important moment of his life. How could they not after all he's done for them? But he doesn't do that. The Bible says, he says, hey, I just need you to pray. And he walks a little bit further in the garden. He comes back, they've fallen asleep again. He walks a little bit further. In Luke 22 and verse 40 tells us that all Jesus does is say, hey, I need you to pray again. Which it's the Luke 22:40 principle. If you want to know what does God do when you and I make mistakes, he just says, hey, get up and let's try it again. Get up, let's try it again. It's the again principle. It's, hey, you and I have things that happen. Sorrow happens, depression hits, discouragement hits. The pains of life find their way into our life. And what do we have to do? We have to listen to that voice that says, come on, you can do this. Let's go at it again.